It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. rocklandworldradio.com.
Hi, I'm Tony Ziegler, and welcome to Speaking Creatively, or Creatively Speaking. I goofed up again. And my guest today is Chuck Stead, PhD, and welcome to our show. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
Well, first thing we do is we get your signature.
Okay, and this is good just about nowhere, but that's good. We'll put it down here.
Actually,
How's that?
I can read it, so that's good.
Oh, good.
Let me take
That
that
is
to
good.
put this on the side,
Okay, got my signature.
and then
I didn't know I was going to sign. Did you see what I wrote? I didn't actually write my name.
That's all right.
Okay.
It's somebody's name.
It's somebody's
You
name.
signed it.
Right. I wrote Stan.
It'll work today.
It says Stan Laurel.
And then we take Polaroids.
Polaroids. Well, okay.
Takes a few minutes, and we take another one.
Okay.
Actually worked
I
today.
did a serious one on the second one. Is that
Okay, that'll be on the cover of
A
Rolling.
mugshot.
That'll be on the cover of Rolling
Rolling
Stone.
Stone? Okay.
Okay. So,
What?
tell us one thing about you.
I'm a story.
One thing. One word.
Oh, one word. You
Yeah,
didn't say
one
that.
word
One
that
word?
describes you. I'm sorry.
Storyteller.
Storyteller. Is that two words or one word?
It's two words.
Okay.
Acting is one word.
Okay. You're an acting storyteller.
Well, I'm a storyteller, yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little story about yourself.
I'm a local. I go back 5 generations in the Ramapo area. And my family is a very rural family, and we were born, or I was born at the time of when the great suburban expansion was working its way across the county from the TZ Bridge all the way over to Ramapo, and the thruway was being built. In fact, they opened the thruway the year I was born. So that was all just coming in
Through the Ramapo Pass.
through the
right?
Ramapo Pass, and I would be growing up in the presence of an environment in transition. And so therefore, the way I came to be is completely different than the way my elders came to be, and it created a schism between us, like a generation gap, but it was a schism also in terms of the land because I was invested with all of their stuff, but I was a part of the change too.
So, where did you go to school then?
My mom was afraid I'd become a pagan, so she sent me to a Catholic school in Suffern
Oh,
in hopes that I wouldn't become a pagan.
so you got whipped around a little bit like I did.
It was the old, it was the old guard. It was the old guard.
And what year were you born?
53, so I
Oh.
started the school right around 60.
Yeah, so you're younger than me.
Okay.
I could be your father.
No,
You never know.
No, I do know. My father was.
I said I could be. Didn't say I was.
No, he couldn't be my father.
Why not?
It gets into biology. I don't want to go down that road.
Oh.
Yeah, it
Okay.
goes into
But, you know, spiritual.
Well,
it could be
spiritually, yeah,
spiritual
you
things.
could be cast into that, and in fact, a lot of that's the way I grew up, and then at Catholic school they were telling us something else.
Of course.
So there were two. It was like growing up in two worlds. I had
So-
my world at home and the world at the school.
So you grew up with the oral tradition?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
you were taught this is the way it is, the
the written tradition,
Yeah.
the book.
the white people, so
Yeah.
to speak,
Yep.
for lack of a better word.
For lack of a better word.
And
So
there's
there, in my way of thinking, I had an incident in 7th grade that so surprised me, and I guess I'd been out to lunch until 7th grade because I didn't realize the issue that I was experiencing was I was growing up in two realities. And my father explained it to me finally in 7th grade. He said, you grow up in two worlds. One of them doesn't much like the other. Guess which one?
so you had
And
to
that's
pick.
that. Yeah.
So
Well,
which
no, I
one?
didn't have to pick. I knew which one. I was in trouble with the white Eurocentric Catholic world at the time.
But I grew up in one world, and I was always in trouble with the same people.
Well, there you go. It's easy to be in trouble with authoritarian type figures.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is, and that's what was going on with me. But it was good. You know, the truth is, Tony, I mean this. It was good. I liked all of it because My mom was desperate to stop fighting with nuns. She sent us, I had 3 sisters. She sent all us kids to Catholic school as an excuse to go and argue with nuns.
I think my mother must have did the same
She
thing.
just loved, she'd go down and we'd get in trouble. She'd, oh, you're in trouble. Then she'd get to go down on a Friday into the convent and they'd argue and argue. But by 7th grade, I was the last kid. And by 7th grade, she said to me, I'm exhausted.
After 3, she's had enough,
Yeah,
right?
well, no, I was the
Okay.
4th one. I was the 4th
Oh,
kid
4.
after 4.
Well, after 3, then she had you. She must have had a nervous breakdown.
She wasn't planning on having me. I was the surprise. I was totally the surprise. I was the midlife kid, you know.
Yeah,
She wasn't
like
gonna
my
do
brother.
it. Well, I don't know about your brother, but I do know that I got an opportunity from my mom when she said, you don't have to go to Catholic school anymore. I'm exhausted. Your sisters don't go. You're the last kid. You don't have to go. I've had enough. And
Then where did you go?
Well, it was really heartfelt. I really liked that she said this.
I bet.
So I said, what's it worth to you if I keep going? She said, what do you mean? I said, 5 more years. I'll go right on through and graduate high school if you like. But I get something. Because I realized this was really important to her, you know. So she said, what do you want? And I said, when I get off of the bus at the end of the day, until the time I get back on the bus the next day is my time, and I do whatever I want with it.
Ooh.
And when the weekend comes, same is true until Monday morning. She said, you got to keep your grades up. Now, silly stuff they teach us. I keep my grades up. That's not a
So
problem.
no chores?
Oh, no. I still have that, but my time is my time. I don't have to reckon with any authority. In other words, if I want to sleep in the woods, I sleep in the woods.
Yeah.
And I slept in the woods a lot. And I hunted and I trapped. So that was the real education was happening in the off-school hours. But she gave it to me. She said, it took her 5 minutes, and she said, shake. And for the next 5 years, I went to Albertus Magnus in Bardonia.
Yeah, I know.
I did all that stuff.
You must know some same people I do.
Probably. And good grades. I got, fine grades. It wasn't hard to do that because I was getting to do what I wanted to do in my off hours.
Well, you see, for me, they told me I couldn't do what I wanted to do, so I didn't do anything.
Well, there you go. You see, that's reverse
I
psychology.
just did art anyway and played music anyway.
You didn't go to
Didn't
Albertus,
class.
did you?
No, I went to Tappan Zee High School.
Ah.
But I grew up in the Bronx and went to Catholic school till 7th grade.
Right.
And I remember moving from the Bronx saying I was never going to say a bad word again in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Boy,
that
oh
lasted
boy,
5 minutes.
not even, not even, because everybody was from the Bronx or Queens or something.
We Albertus kids would play the other schools, and then we'd go
Yeah.
to the games. And we get in fights with every kid in every other school.
course.
It was a constant fights. And we got in fights with Tappan Zee kids.
I'm sure.
North Rockland kids. We
I
did.
probably know somebody that beat you
North
up.
Clarkstown. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Not me.
Yeah,
I didn't
no.
beat anybody up. I got beat up.
Well, yeah, I did some of both. I was sort of at both ends of that. Yeah.
Nah, I just got beat up.
There's merit in that.
So then you went on to college, correct?
Yeah, for like the next, 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah, I've gone to different colleges my whole life. I just graduated with my doctorate in 2015.
From where?
Antioch School of Environmental Study in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great school.
Yeah, it is.
So tell us about your environmental work.
Well, again, because I spent all that time on my own, once Tessie and I came to that agreement, that's my mom's name,
Mhm.
I really followed my father's footsteps in becoming more a naturalist. And invariably, that led me to always knowing where to go to be safe. It was sort of like the woods of my church. And
Correct.
and that just continued to be the running thread of my life. And in time, with the issues that I was exposed to, the spoliation of the watersheds and such, plus my relationship with the Ramapos, Ramapo Indian Nation, it sort of was a natural, and being a storyteller, it was sort of a natural thing that I didn't know it, but I was moving toward academic work in the environment. I never really thought that. In fact, that's the opposite of what I thought I was, doing. But that's where it all kind of filtered into eventually. And I did the Ford cleanup up in Ramapo. I'd spent years on Ford Motor Company.
When did the Ford Motor Company open?
They opened in '55. They shut in 1980.
I remember when they shut.
They produced, at one point, out of Mawa, more cars than out of any other plant they've ever owned. That
Really?
was in the '60s. They produced
More than Detroit?
Yep.
and
Yep.
any-
Well, for that given time in their expanse,
yeah.
millions of cars.
They
and,
made the Pinto there?
They made the Pinto. They made the Ford F-150 there. They made the Fairlane. They made
The 150 or the 100?
the 150. The 150.
So they already stopped the 100.
Yeah. But I think they made the 100 before that because they made it through.
Yeah, because in 70, I don't remember, I had a 71 and a 72 100.
Right,
and then all of a sudden they start 150.
Well, the 150 I think is earlier than that.
No.
No? Well, then it's the 100 then that I'm
The 100,
I'm
then
about. Right.
because then they switched to 150.
Right.
Which I think it was one more leaf spring or something.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't much. A little bit more suspension, maybe.
Yeah, my 71 Ford I had in Arizona was like a 250 now.
Right. Their cars produced a lot of paint because
Oh yeah.
when they paint a car, 10% of the product actually goes onto the car. So there's 90% overspray.
So what happens to the overspill?
They wash it all down off the shop floors into a trough, and from the trough into barrels, and then from the barrels get carted off into woods and buried in the watershed. And they did that for years, which is how the place got so damaged.
And the watershed is just all the hills.
Yep. Anywhere
It comes into the valley where the
Yep.
Ramapo passes.
Yep.
Goes into that creek.
Yep.
And
Into
then
into
goes into the reservoir.
and goes. Yep. It all leads. It all goes someplace, and they buried it in the barrels. Sometimes they just didn't bury it in the barrels. Sometimes they just buried it in trucks and then dumped the trucks directly into the watershed.
They just left the trucks?
No, they dumped the paint out of the trucks, like dump trucks. Actually, up in Ringwood, where they were burying paint, they actually did lose a couple of trucks and a few tractors down the mine holes as they were shoving thousands of tons of paint down the 19th century mine shafts.
Right. I know those
Some of
mines.
those machines fell down with it.
Of course.
And the drivers jumped out, and they were spared. But a lot of other people weren't spared because it was lead and it was toxic, and a lot of people died because of this.
Of course.
People are still dying because of this.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot my question. Oh well.
Okay.
It must have been a story I forgot.
Well, the thing about the Ford cleanup is in New York, if people are concerned and they hear this, in Ramapo, New York, we've done almost a full cleanup.
Really?
Yeah, we've removed 100,000 tons of toxic lead material from the watershed.
Just paint?
Oh, no.
Batteries and things like that?
Everything, plus the soil that gets contaminated has to be moved too. So the tonnage includes whatever indicates lead.
Oh,
so it's
yeah, I
everything
see.
from the heavy lead to the tree stumps or
Well,
whatever.
Right here in South Nyack, where I used to live, Mr. Hand, there's a mansion there. And
Yep.
I lived next door to him. And he worked for Thomas Edison.
Yep.
He invented maintenance-free battery. And he made batteries right there during the war.
He buried
World
them
War
there,
II,
too.
And buried them. And the whole is like 4 square blocks that they took 30 inches of soil away. Even though it wasn't contaminating all of them, but the leakage could
Yeah,
be.
it does because it
It
leaches.
was on the
so-
top, I think it was called the Toxic Fund. Or,
Yeah, probably the ATSDR identified it. The
yeah,
Agency for
yeah.
Toxic
It's,
Survey.
it was in the late 80s, and I was already moving away.
If they find any measurement of the material they're looking for, that has to be taken out.
Yeah.
That's how they did it up in Ramapo.
They took my whole organic garden out.
Well, I don't know how organic your garden
Well,
actually
it was 3 foot above the soil that
Right.
was originally there.
But stuff can move in all directions, including
goes
back
up
up
also.
again. Yeah, it can come back up again.
Wow.
So it can go in any direction. That's why you gotta extract it. You gotta get it out.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that they did not remove. I had built a shed, and they did not remove the shed.
Huh.
They went around.
Well, they didn't find anything under it. Maybe they probed.
I don't know. I wasn't living there then.
Ah.
But it's a horrible thing.
Yeah. Anyway, New York side, for people who are listening, is pretty much cleaned up. There's still one more important site in Pomona that we have to have cleaned
Where
up.
is that?
It's off of Camp Hill Road on the lower end, not the hillside, but the lower end,
Is that
which
by
would
the
be.
Mount Ivy Diner there?
It's on the other side of the Mount Ivy Swamp from the diner. So the Great Swamp is behind the grocery
Right,
store,
right.
and the other end of the swamp used to have a place called the Camp Hill Day Camp.
Yeah, I know
camp.
where it was,
The day
yeah.
camp was built on top of a Ford toxic dump. The children who went to the day camp, and this is good for your listeners, any kid who went to the Camp Hill Day Camp was exposed to lead paint. And
Well-
especially if they used, let me tell you this, the swimming pond, because that was dug
I know where it
directly
was. I
into the
remember
paint.
it, yeah.
I went into the pond after the camp was closed down and did soil samples and found massive amounts of lead in the sedimentation. And I talked to people who grew up going to that camp, and they remembered kicking into the water with their feet. You know, when you kick in the water, you make those little sand sediment
Yeah, yeah.
clouds, and only their clouds were bluish with yellow streaks in them because they were
Cool,
kicking their
wow.
feet into
Yeah.
lead. And
The actual paint.
yeah, they were actually, because the paint was in the soil by then, because it was soft. It had broken down to some degree
Yeah.
in the water. So when we found that, I was working at that time with the county health department, and we got Kathy Quinn and Tom Maselli on it. And it was years. I mean, that was years ago. But now, finally, we're about to get to that phase. That's the third phase of the Ramapo, New York cleanup. And it's tricky because it also has material right close to one of those McMansions that's there. And that guy was holding up the cleanup because he's mad about that, and he wanted more money for the,
Of course, there's always
the
one.
disturbance, right? But it's going to happen, and it's important that it happen. And for your listeners and viewers, whatever, it's really important that they not get the wrong information from the town. This is the correct information. This cleanup has to happen. It's affecting the entire Mount Ivy Swamp. It's a good thing to remove it. It's not a bad thing to remove it because there are people working for the town who might actually say that. They've got a crazy idea.
Yeah.
And this is a good idea. And the DEC's behind it, but also Ford's behind it. Ford's agreed to it. They spent $40 million in the town of Ramapo already. I mean, it took them a long time. It's a long time. It took me 20 years. But they're at a point where they want to finish this. So they need to be allowed to do the job.
Well, they want to do business in the United States without a bad name,
right,
too.
Right. And this isn't the story in Ringwood, New Jersey. They're not really helping in Ringwood, New Jersey. So New York side is getting done.
Now,
New Jersey side is not.
Now, the New Jersey side, is that leaching over to New York?
It's beyond another mountain, but where it is leaching is in the direction of the Wanacue Reservoir. That's a huge story.
Wow. Yeah.
There's a massive number of users in North Jersey of Wanacue, and it's in the
I know
fissures.
where that reservoir
Yeah,
is.
and it's going in that. It is moving. It's migrating. It's just a matter of time.
Wow. That's horrible.
Yeah, that's a big story. The Turtle Clan live right on top of it where it is there, and they lose about 2 people a month.
So now, what about the kids that went swimming in the day camp?
They have weakened immune systems, and that's opportunistic over the years. They could develop other issues. They should watch their titers. They should be very concerned about organ failure. I mean, there's a number. I had cancer. I'm still considered a cancer patient for having it.
You always are.
And my dad and I foraged right where we're taking the paint out now. And so I was exposed to it as a kid, and eventually, like so many other hunters and trappers and foragers in the Ramapo area who I've known, we all get it eventually.
And there's a train goes through there. Was there ever a train going through the ford?
Oh yeah, the tracks were there. Yeah.
The railroad's another horrible polluter.
Oh yeah, but nothing compared to
nothing
yeah,
compared.
burying lead paint is
Yeah.
much worse. I mean, in Ringwood, what's up there, we can only estimate it's about 250,000 tons.
That's the soil and everything.
No, that's the paint.
That's, oh my
They
God.
took a lot more paint up there than they did in Ramapo.
Wow.
Yeah.
How far was that from the plant about?
The drive, well, from Ramapo, it was like not even 10 minutes because
Right.
it was close. But Ringwood, the drive would be probably about 25 minutes to get up there.
I wonder why they just didn't dump it right on the side of the
They
plant.
did that too.
They filled it
They
up.
ran out of space.
They ran out.
Yeah. There was a little place just across the state line. New Jersey Wawa's here, and there's a little space right across the state line that was in a basin area, and that's called the Meadows. It's a floodplain.
Mm-hmm.
And there were about 14 houses maybe in there. And that was the poorest district in all of the village of Hillburn. And they dumped it down in there. We did 2 cleanups in there, one in 94 and another one in 2007. And the 94 cleanup was about 118 55-gallon drums. And the one in 97 was a poured continuous flow of, I forget the figure, but it was tonnage. It was tonnage.
Oh my God.
Now, but here's the thing. The people who lived there got cancer regularly. Like my
course.
friend Cindy Fountain is a 5-time cancer survivor through her life.
5 times?
Yes.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm a 2-time. I got 2, but I haven't caught up with her yet. I went to where her house was, and I went down into the well, because they all drank well water, and we pulled the debris that had floated in over the years. We dug into the soil, and we found paint.
We never thought about it back then. I mean,
I don't buy that.
No,
don't buy it.
not you. I mean, you didn't think of it.
No, but I think the people,
board knew.
DuPont designed the paint.
Right, they
Research R&D at DuPont knew damn well what was in it.
They knew.
They knew.
Yeah. But I'm
And
saying
they were the
is-
important ones. They should have said no. That's ethical.
Right.
And they didn't.
Of course not.
And then they exposed it to us who were busy looking at a new car.
Right.
And not thinking
Well,
about it.
And what a new car was.
Yeah, yeah.
And a new refrigerator.
Yeah, yeah,
And
everything was
all
wonderful.
that painted with lead paint.
Yeah, yeah.
Baked
yeah.
on.
Yeah, yeah. It was,
There's nothing like it. They last forever.
Well, also the biggest problem with what DuPont created was the under chassis paint, because it never completely solidifies.
Oh, undercoating.
Yeah, the undercoating, and it had plastic in it.
Right.
Something called diethyl hexaphthalate was in that paint.
That's really bad stuff.
And that, you can find a chunk of it in the woods today and it'll still bend. And
Yeah.
it's 60, 70 years old. That trapped all the other volatile organic compounds. Everything got trapped because it was plastic, so it held on to it longer. Plastics will hold on to
So when
stuff.
cars crashed, when we were teenagers,
Yep.
and we found that really cool rubbery stuff we were playing
That was
with.
really bad to play with.
Really bad to play with.
And the lead is sweet.
And I played with it.
The lead is sweet, so when kids found
Oh,
where it
yeah.
was being dumped, they would chew on it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like gum. Ramapo kids took little tin foils and made it into sticks of gum and traded it for baseball cards at the school.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was chewy. It was like a chewy substance, and lead is sweet. That's why the animals got contaminated,
That's
because
right.
they'd find it and lick it because it's sweet.
It's like antifreeze.
Yeah, it attracts them.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So let's talk about something fun.
Yes. Now you have this leather pouch here.
Oh, this thing. This is my. You asked about school. This is my. When you get your doctorate, you have to defend your.
You want to take all this
your
stuff
project.
off the table?
Sure. Yeah. And this is called a winter count. Because of the native influence, and because I was working with Algonquin people, the Ramapos are of Algonquin extraction, I wanted to honor that and associate the academic work with that, because the native people in this country are always screwed by academics. And
Do you think?
all the time. And here I am, coming from the community, growing up with the people, and I become an academic. So I was collecting my dissertation has many of their stories in it. So I'm collecting their stories, and I'm writing about Ford and the Ramapos and so forth. So I told Antioch I wanted to do a defense down in the Ramapo Town Hall and have some of the elders from their Turtle Clan come down and attend it.
Yeah.
And they said no, of course. And I waited.
The town said no.
No, the town actually said yes.
But
Antioch said no.
Oh, Antioch.
The Ramapos one. Antioch said you have
and
to.
the elders said okay.
Yeah, they all said, but the Antioch said, this is an academic thing, and you need to do this at the college. And I said, no, I'm doing it. I paid the money. I'm doing it my way. And so we did that. And so a winter count, let me tell you what it is first. It's a skin on which you have totems, and you open the winter count up, and their totems represent stories that are individualistic but can be connected. So this became my dissertation. And these totems are the 11 chapters of my dissertation telling the story of the Ramapo Nation and Ford Motor Company. So you hand a deer antler to a child in winter. It's called a winter count because that's the time of storytelling. And you come into the community and you roll it out and you hand the antler to the youngest or the oldest in the room. It's one or the other. And you say, point to an image. So maybe they point to a deer here, and you just start telling the story out from whatever that image is, because in Algonquin tradition, the linear thing, we may sound like we're talking linear, but we're living in a cyclical consciousness.
I understand, yeah.
And so you can
I
talk the
spent 2
story.
years in Arizona, so
Then
I
you can
learned
go in
a
any
lot.
direction if you've been there.
Yeah.
It's the flatlands, and you can roll around, and that's what they all represent. So this winter count has Ford on it, and that's the
Did you draw do this?
Yes. And those are fox tracks, because that's my
And
totem.
this is a turtle?
Yep, that's Turtle Island. And that's an image of the turtle that's the petroglyph over at the Botanical Gardens. That's the great
I know
Turtle
some of
Island
these
image.
symbols.
And that's a salamander for the
Yes.
Ramapo salamander story. And that's fox, that's my totem. The two deer represents the wounded storyteller, which is what contaminated people are. They become wounded storytellers.
Correct.
And this deer here represents recovery, because as they tell their story and live through it, they recover.
Wow, and the eyes are open, and
Yep.
the orange is like
Yep.
the lower chakra is better.
Yep, that's the whole idea. You got it. And then this is the salt box. That was the research center that we built out of a 200-year-old ironworker's house.
And where is that?
Well, that's up on Torn Valley Road, and I've been thrown out of it now, so I'm hoping I can
Why?
get back into it. Because different people took over the town government, and they
It's a town owner.
the town. I built it for the town as a classroom and research center, and I have a 2,000 book library there, and I have equipment, microscopes,
kicked you
and
out.
everything. Yeah, And well, I got sick. You remember this?
Oh.
And while I was sick in the hospital, it was a good time to get rid of my position, which they did. And they also said I couldn't go back there
Hit you when
anymore.
you're down.
Yes, yes.
Isn't that the
It's
way, General Custer and
well,
all the
there you
rest?
go.
I don't
So
want
you
to
can
mention
see
any names, but
I'll have a totem on here for me somewhere along the way.
That's right.
And this is the sweetgrass. We reintroduced
Oh.
native sweetgrass to the area, which is part of the culture. And these other images, there's Fort Paint. And
what
that's
is
the point-
this?
the paint
It's upside
sludge.
down.
It's
Oh,
the
that's the
paint. That's
paint.
one of the
'Cause
drums.
when I'm looking at it, it looks like a monster.
Yeah, it looks
kind
the
of.
other way because it's like a creature. But no, it's
Yeah.
going the other way. See, there's
Yeah.
the plants.
I see
growing.
it, yeah.
And
I thought it was like a dragon or
this
something.
camera represents all the different ways in which the story has been interpreted. That chapter is called "A Story Is Told by Others."
The Hollywood version.
Yes, and all the Hollywood versions are extremely bad. And
With Carlo Montalban playing
no,
the big Indian
no,
chief.
more recent.
No, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
that's
but
what it was
Hollywood's always been like that. But just recently, all the great neoliberals have been telling their story, like at Sundance, and producing films that are equally bad. It don't get better. The New Yorker ran a story on them, and they agreed not to say certain things in the story if they gave them permission for the interviews, and then they printed the things that they agreed not to say. So,
What are you going to do?
because well, it's the way
Sue
white
them to
people
take
are.
20 years.
Yeah, white people just can't help but lie. It's just what they
Oh.
do. So that's the Hollywood icon.
You know what Frank Zappa said?
What's that?
I can't say I'm. Wait, let me try to say it. I can't say I'm black, but sometimes I wish I didn't say I was white. Same kind of routine,
The nicest compliment I ever got from a Ramapo elder was, "I don't think of you as white."
Well, you're not. White.
No, I am.
You're part white.
Yeah, no, I'm mostly white.
Oh,
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah. I got a little bit, but I'm mostly white. Raised white. And
Right.
kind of raised
Yeah,
white.
but you still have the oral tradition.
Yeah. So that's what this is.
Then what's this symbol?
Oh, that's the alchemist symbol for lead. And I wanted that there because we've been contaminating ourselves with lead since the Roman Empire.
Absolutely.
So
all
that
their,
symbol
all
is
their water
ancient.
cans are lead.
Yeah. And then those are the VOCs, the other chemical mixtures that are in it.
I went to Rome and saw the lead pipes.
Yeah.
We have lead pipes.
Yeah. Newark. Newark is full of lead pipes.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And there's still lead pipes in a lot of the back areas of Rockland County.
Sure. My house here in South Nyack was built 1790, 1800. They had lead pipes. You had to take them all out.
When the town, when Sloatsburg started redoing the water, because town of Ramapo
Yeah.
is oversees Sloatsburg, they started redoing the water infrastructure. They found wooden pipes that
Oh,
were
yeah.
still functioning.
Of course.
They got to be like 120 years old.
Did they put tar on the outside probably? Or something?
Yeah, but mostly the way I got one. They gave me one. And mostly what they build them out of oak, and they didn't glue it together. They just put bands of metal around it because the water makes the pipe swell and seals it.
Oh.
And of course, iron pipes corrode on the inside. So as the
Yeah,
pipes get
iron's
older,
terrible.
hardly the wooden pipe still had the full 8-inch diameter because they don't corrode.
The way the Creator made them.
There you go. Yep, there's a lot to be said for Creator. Knows a lot more than we do.
Oh yeah. Creator knows.
Yeah. So that's what this is. That's my
Wonderful.
winter, and it was good. It worked well. I had to do a formal version of it as well, but this was the storytelling, and I take this to schools now.
It's a beautiful
And
skin.
do it. Yeah, thank you. Oh, the story of the skin.
Yeah.
I went to the Ramapo powwow. There was a guy there that sells skins, a Mohawk guy.
I saw a little press there.
Yeah, and so I was going to buy it. So I walk in and I'm looking for it, and he says, "Look in that trunk." And I didn't tell him what I was buying it for. And I find this one, and I like the color and the texture. So and I see the price, and I said, "This is good. I want this." And I reach into my pocket, and he said, "No. Make it a good winter count."
I knew what?
It's called a winter count. He said,
Oh.
"Make it a good winter count." I didn't tell him I was doing anything of the kind with it.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is with native folks. They just sort of pick up the vibe.
And what kind of skin is it? Do you know?
I think it's hide, deer hide.
Deer.
It's just the way it's tanned. It's tanned really smooth.
Yeah.
Once you pull the hair off, you can.
It's beautiful.
You
It's
can
got.
do a lot.
It has creatures in it too.
It does, and look at these imprints over here. They're really fun.
Beautiful.
They're great.
Really nice. It's kind of like some of the artwork I've been doing. It just happens.
Hey, we should plug your. When is the gallery going to open?
Oh, the gallery opens. The official opening is this Saturday, correct, Les? This Saturday.
So will this air before Saturday?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then what's this Saturday's date? The 6th? April
7th.
6th? The 7th?
There's a street fair in Nyack.
Right.
And it's called the Why Not Art Gallery.
Good.
And it's associated with the gallery, the Beast with a Million Eyes Gallery. I got it right. That's what happens when you have too many concussions and you're on medicine.
Is that the excuse? Okay, I'll go with that.
That's the excuse, yeah, okay.
So we good? Do you want to,
I have a couple of announcements to make.
okay, whatever.
Before we end.
Okay.
This Saturday also at Congress Lake is the Rockland County Donate Life Walk from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Admission is free. It's all about organ donation, etc. I also want to say thank you to Brooklyn Audiology. Wait, I got that paper somewhere. Here it is. Brooklyn Audiology Associates, because without them I wouldn't be hearing anything right now. And they fixed my hearing aids this morning. And they're very proud of the show and supportive, and they'll be coming to our gallery.
Great.
And they'll probably buy something from Lex.
There we go.
Okay, and let's see if the Polaroids came out.
Yeah, I look like my father. I just saw it.
Well, they
Just
call
like
it
my father.
reproduction.
Yeah, that's what I am, I guess. Especially the one where I'm not smiling. That's that stern face that he has.
Oh my God.
See?
They look like
Don't they look intense?
you could be on the head of a dollar bill.
I could be.
I have to show that.
Yeah, there.
Actually, I want this one.
You keep
can
that
have
one.
this one. Oh,
Okay.
you get one.
Oh, I
That's
get
part
one.
of the deal.
This is what you get. This is sweetgrass. We mentioned it before.
Oh, yeah.
This is native grown, local sweetgrass and braided. You know, it's a
wonderful.
tradition to braid sweetgrass.
Now, do you wear this, carry it?
Smell it. And if you do ceremony, you burn a little, like you would sage.
Wow. You're going to burn it in the gallery.
Yeah, it's for prayer and blessing and stuff like that.
This adds to my collection.
Good.
And
Excellent.
I also have a gift for you.
Oh, you gave me a picture.
Well, everybody gets...
Looks like a picture of my dad. Where'd you get it?
I told you I was your dad, so my spirit came out.
I heard about this.
You heard about what? What do you mean?
Yeah,
You heard about
you
what?
told me. A long time ago at a farmer's market.
I did?
Yeah.
That you were going to get
Oh.
a big banana?
That's not what you told me.
It's a big banana.
It's a big banana. That's great.
I don't know if it still works, but it's a big banana.
It was laying around for a few years. I thought I'd give it to
How
you.
many hundreds? And then you get a yellow. Well, sometimes bananas become orange. That's another vintage thing we have.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
This is good.
something in the bag for you.
Yes.
Les is, we had a guest named Les here.
Yeah.
And he was particularly fond of his banana. He got so fond of it, we had to squish it.
Oh.
Yeah, poor Les.
Well, thank you for this. I'll eat this in the morning.
So we're going to be wrapping it up, and I think there's another gift somewhere, but I'll give it to you later.
All right.
I might have even gave you one, a piece of sky. I never gave you a piece of sky?
No.
Well, do we say native or Indian?
I say Indian.
Yeah,
Actually, I say both.
I say both too.
Yeah.
Because when you say Indian, they might think you're from India. Christopher Columbus.
Nobody would think I'm from India.
Not you. No, when you say the doctor's Indian, is it American Indian or Indian?
Yeah, people here need the delineation of native.
Right. I start saying native, and I noticed that a lot of tribes out west, they say we're Indians.
Right.
They don't say native.
Yeah, Indian is pretty much accepted by Indians.
Yeah, well, it was drilled into their head.
Yeah.
Or cut, the hair was cut.
Or they just accepted it because they do assimilate some things into their culture. Like powwow is not a phrase that came from Indian culture.
Probably
it came from white culture, but they adapted. They had, adapted the word.
Well, the Ford F-100 is probably the most popular truck of powwows.
Yep. Yep.
All over the country.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
thank you for being my
thank
guest.
you. You're welcome.
It was
This
a
has been
pleasure.
fun. We're going to wrap this up.
We are. We're trying to. Do you have a wrap?
No, I don't have a wrap. That's good.
I have a wrap.
Okay.
I just rapped you.
Hey, in the era of the Me Too movement, was I just assaulted? And we got it on film. Okay, Joe Biden.
Joe
Keep
Biden,
your distance.
you can talk about it now. Don't wait until I'm dead.
Joe's not dead.
I know, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. All right.
Somebody dies and then you accuse them of doing stuff. Okay. Thank you very much for being here on the show.
You're welcome.
And don't
Thanks for having
forget, you are creative.
It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. rocklandworldradio.com.